This is BIV Today, the daily business show from the journalists at Business in Vancouver. I'm Haley Wooden, and this week our show is focused on the topic of philanthropy and charitable giving. My guest today, Richard Pass, the CEO of Ronald McDonald House, BC and Yukon. He joins me for a deeper conversation about how charities and not-for-profits have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Richard, thanks so much for joining the show.
Oh, thank you. I look forward to the opportunity to talk.
It feels a little bit like a lifetime ago, but take me back to the start of the year. What was your organization focused on, and how were you initially impacted by the pandemic?
We opened our new house that serves 73 families in 2014, 73 families at a time, so about 2,000 families a year. And during the time since 2014 that we've been open, what we found was that we're we're full every day. And so we had just at the end of last year done another feasibility study with Children's Hospital, and we're looking at how to grow the organization to serve more families. And so, as we were planning a great year of growth and opportunity, then COVID hit, and that certainly changed our direction. And so now, just basically, still needing to grow, but still needing to get through the year and COVID with the changes to fundraising and those kind of things has been quite challenging.
Understandably, tell me a bit about how your program delivery, your services has changed or not changed during the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Well, the seriously ill children, as it turns out, don't care there's a pandemic. They still need treatment and they still need help and support, as the family still needs a place to stay. And so our services are really as needed as always. One of the positive things about the Ronald McDonald House and COVID at the same time is that all our disinfectant protocols are really high in the first place. And so it wasn't that much of a difference really in our cleaning protocols and some of the things that have had to change. But the challenge really has become how to provide the services that we have been providing without the volunteers, and with when families don't want to go out to get groceries. How can we provide that food and really make sure that they're in the safest environment possible? So we've spent a lot of time revisiting and reimagining how we can serve our families, still making sure that they stay safe and can get over to the hospital for treatment and keep the family together as much as possible.
I know in fairly normal circumstances, COVID-19 has had a big impact on families and individuals socially, from a health perspective, from economic perspective. What have you heard from some of the families that are also relying on your services and dealing with their own kind of family crisis on top of a pandemic?
Yeah, well, it's challenging for them. They're already in the worst case scenario where their child's seriously ill. The transfer between the house and home, often the whole family stays at Ronald McDonald House, and but often also the family. Some kids are at home going to school with one parent and caregiver, and so all of a sudden to have a situation where on a weekend they can't come down because of the quarantine and those types of things, then it's really been challenging for them. And of course, those costs just continue to go up because they're not working and those types of things. So it's really tough on the families.
Tell me a bit about where you normally get your funds to offer the services that you do, and how your fundraising activities have maybe been impacted this year.
Absolutely. Well, let's see the impact. About a third of our funding would come from our signature events and third-party events. People that would do fundraisers that would range from an exotic car rally to a lemonade stand. So there's a real mix. So those aren't happening this year. Our events aren't able to happen as well because we can't gather people, and that has led to a deficit of about $1.2 million this year. And so, like I said, the families are still here. We're still providing that incredible service, and so it really has been a challenge to look at different ways to try to raise funds. And we continue to work through those.
Are you at the point where you're delaying your plans for growth that you talked about a little bit earlier, or is it a bit too early to actually make any big decisions?
I don't think delay, and yet yes, in the same answer. It's a real mix because there is a planning process, of course, for how we're going to grow and what the right timing for growth is, and that's the case no matter what. With a normal environment, economy, then there's a certain lead time, and there's fundraising, and getting that story out. But there's also the zoning and the planning and all those kinds of things. So some of it can continue to happen. The timing of fundraising is a challenge. If you're going to go out into a capital campaign, then always the question is what's the right time, and so I think there's a little bit of a slowdown, but ultimately the need is there. The families need a place to stay, and like I said, the serious illness continues to be a challenge for those families, and so we want to provide that mission as much as we can and as soon as possible. Yeah.
Do you get stability and security from having a significant partner like McDonald's that does contribute, I assume, fairly regularly to Ronald McDonald House?
Yeah, the McDonald's partnership is really important. About a third of the funding, again, comes from the McDonald's families, and so that would be things from money from the Happy Meals that go to the Ronald McDonald House charity in Canada that gets distributed, McHappy Day, and those types of things, sponsorships to our events. So McHappy Day didn't happen this year, so that was something that would have been in May, and so right in the middle of COVID, so that wasn't an opportunity. And so the support of McDonald's is really great, and yet that leaves 2/3 really of funding and for the families, and it's about just under a $5 million annual budget. So that's a lot of people to ask for support and partnerships and sponsorships. And so that's like so many charities, we're on the pavement, having those face-to-face asks, and the mission of serving seriously ill children, not one diagnosis, for example. It's a broad scope, so that certainly has an ability for people to connect to the mission, and so more and more, without those events and without the McHappy Days and those kinds of things, then it's really trying to find ways to get to the individuals and say, we're still here and we still need your support, and please make a donation as you can.
Are you concerned at all about the ability to raise funds from businesses, sponsors, or individuals? I just think about the economic consequences of COVID-19 and how many businesses are maybe no longer in a position to donate, or families may not be in a position to donate.
It really is concerning. There's a decrease with all charities, and I'll make that generalized statement. But it's a challenge because people are being more cautious. Their revenues are down in a lot of cases, and like you say, some of them aren't in business. And it's not just the dollars, although dollars are always what we need, but it's also the donations. We have typically we would have people coming to the house and dropping off Halloween goods, and so Thanksgiving things, so Christmas toys, those kind of things. And it's still early for Christmas, but it really is a tightening, partly from the economy and then partly just from the physical spacing. People are much more reluctant to go out and engage, and with the protocols, if someone comes to the door, then they're not coming into the house, because we want to keep the family safe. So it's challenging all around. Yeah.
In our final few minutes, Richard, there's still so much uncertainty. It's a very dynamic situation in this pandemic, and who knows what's going to happen in the weeks or months ahead. What are you going to be focusing on to try and navigate the ship and ensure that Ronald McDonald House, BC and Yukon has what it needs and continues to deliver the very important services that you do deliver?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, for that answer to that question, it's to keep the family safe. And so the things that we're doing, working with BC Health and the protocols that we have, we're going to continue to do those and try to find ways to do them even better and provide services to the families. But the big focus really is on storytelling and trying to get the message that the charities still need the donations, and so trying to do some events, some new reimagined ways of fundraising, and really that the number one reason that people don't give to a charity is because they're not asked. And so in this environment, how do we get out and ask? And so having a conversation like this today is a great opportunity, because we are asking. We to have that support is necessary, and so if people can make that donation and make a gift, that would be incredibly helpful for the families. Yeah.
Richard, really appreciate you taking the time to come on our show. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's Richard Pass, CEO of Ronald McDonald House, BC and Yukon. This has been BIV Today. I'm Haley Wooden. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll be back with a new episode of our show tomorrow.